Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
All right, what's going on, everybody? It is Dustin Nielsen with you, and we are... Oh, sorry, buddy. I was like, what are you pointing at right now? All right, what's going on? It is The Lock Shop. Dusty with you. Hustle going to be joining us here momentarily. And, we are off and running on a Tuesday. We got a football game to kind of recap from last night. My goodness, you can tell if you're watching on YouTube, the picture is a picture of a field goal from last night's football game, because that's pretty much all we got in last night's football game, which was a little frustrating. But with that being said, we cashed the parlay last night, which was nice. Huss, there's nothing like, first of all, the field goals at 3.5, easy peasy. It's made for a primetime game between the Bears and the Vikings. But to hit the partner parlay with a few Justin Fields rushes on the final possession felt real nice, didn't it?
Well, it certainly made the time we invested in that turd of a game worth it. I mean, early in the second half, I said, guys, we need 2 catches from Madison and 22 yards from Fields, and then we can turn this game off. Because it was painful. And listen, we got a lot of angry Viking fans here. I mean, I don't know, did the clock strike midnight for the Cinderella story that is Josh Dobbs last night?
That's what I'm wondering. You're right. Like,
kind of felt that way.
He hasn't looked like that at all this season, right? Like, he has not looked like that once, regardless of where he was playing. So that would be, I could see why Vikings fans would be a little concerned, buddy.
Yeah, but first of all, the field goal prop, and I mentioned this yesterday on the Lock Shop. I don't know whether it was a mistake or there's something that we just weren't picking up on. But, I mean, I'm always tracking this number on these primetime games because we bet it so much. The start of the season, it was routinely minus 120, sometimes minus 115. Every now and then you'd get a game that was at plus 125. Lately, it's been as low as plus 105 or plus 110, like just barely over even money. And then last night, it was plus 145 with these two teams. Made absolutely no sense. More than happy to bet it, though, and cash it, which was great. And just to give you an idea about how bad this game was, Dusty, how about Patty scoring and cashing the TJ Hawkinson first touchdown score with 6 minutes left in the game?
That was ridiculous. When Hawkinson hit that, I was like, man, I'm pretty sure Patty was on first touchdown score, but you just don't usually see it midway through the fourth quarter. But that's the type of game that it was. I mean, I could have missed the entire thing, but I missed the first part. It was bedtime and dinner and stuff with the kids, so I settled in the second half, and I was like, what am I even doing here? Like, what are we doing here in this football game right now? Like, neither team was remotely interested in winning that football game. And don't tell me it was an excellent defensive battle. Like, those are just two of the most inept offenses that you could ever see in any football league, for goodness sakes.
I had a similar experience yesterday. I mean, I still haven't really recovered from getting really sick right after the Grey Cup.
Yep.
And it was a big Sunday, Chiefs into a Jet game. So I did my immune system no favors on the weekend. So I was feeling it yesterday. And I finished work, the show. I did an interview afterwards. And about 5:30, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get into the wrapper for 90 minutes.
Just a bit. Yeah.
I'll set an alarm for 7:10. So start of the game. Great. Bets are in. No problem. Well, I guess the alarm went off and I must have hit it and just went back to sleep. So all of a sudden I look and it's 8:30 and I'm like, oh my God. First of all, this is going to completely screw up my sleep schedule, but I wonder what's going on in this game. And without even getting up, I just pulled up the app. End of second quarter, 3-3. And I just laughed. I'm like, you know what? Someone was looking out for me today. There was nothing worthwhile watching in this one. So Anyways, a dreadful game, terrible defense. I mean, this is not really a betting observation, but
No.
how the hell do you let, in that situation on that final drive, do you let DJ Moore get within 10 yards of a defender in the middle of the field? And if you looked at Fields' maybe they got sucked into it because Fields had only one pass all game before then over 10 yards. I mean,
it's unbelievable. I think his average depth of target was something like 1.8 heading into the final drive. Like,
half the time he was throwing behind the line of scrimmage, and Minnesota was onto it. But they got burned on that play, and that ended up costing them a win. They're now right back. I mean, if they win that game, not only are they within a game of the Lions with 2 head-to-head matchups remaining, but very comfortable in the wild card. That's not the case anymore. So they're right in the mix. And man, the wild card standings right now are so bizarre. I mean, when you look at the teams in both divisions, first of all, Pittsburgh with a minus 23, I believe, point differential, 7-4 in the 5th seed. The Browns with no quarterbacking, 7-4 in the 6th seed. And the Indianapolis Colts are the 7th seed right now with Gardner Minshew. And then you look at the teams on the outside looking, and Houston's there. I think they will end up being a playoff team. Denver's is playing as well as anybody in the AFC right now. And then, I mean, the teams that no one could have imagined, the Bills and the Bengals. I'll almost put the Chargers in there as well. I mean, they just find new ways to lose. And that game that they lost on Sunday, I know we didn't really get into it too much yesterday, with the Ravens looking horrible. What did they turn the ball over 4 times?
It was not good. It was not
good. And did nothing with it. So it's sort of looking like this top 4 in the AFC, Baltimore, Chiefs, Jags, and Dolphins, are going to be those teams. I guess there's a chance that somebody sneaks in and pulls off an upset in the first round. But Chiefs are going to have to just keep on winning their games here on the way out so they can get that number 1 seed, not have to deal with the first round of the playoffs.
Well, and then, of course, in the NFC, you have the 5-6 Atlanta Falcons holding down a playoff spot right now. So,
well, perfect for the Cowboys, though, because, I mean, if the Cowboys, to be honest, with the season they've had, again, I know they haven't beaten anybody yet, but they're still 8-3.
To get Atlanta in that playoff matchup, right?
And I believe the same thing happened last year. They went in and put Tom Brady in the hearse against Tampa, who won that division last year. But the funny thing is, Tampa at 4-7 is fully alive for a home playoff game right now.
Yeah, you're right. That's crazy too.
The Saints, the Falcons right now. I think we can safely say Carolina's not winning it, but to me, I mean, Philly and San Fran are sort of on a plateau above everybody else. The Lions are right there in that next tier. I think the Cowboys are in that next tier. And then none of those other teams. Any team from the NFC South, Seahawks, Vikings, Packers, Rams. I mean, did any of those teams scare anybody in the division leads? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I mean, that's those top 3 teams there in the NFC East are pretty happy with where they are at right now. The Eagles, the Niners, and the Detroit Lions. We've got a lot of hockey to get to. We got some parlays. So just quickly, let's stick with the NFL here for a second, Hus. We got into the Denver Texans game yesterday. Somebody asked. Of course, you can message us anytime, 780-218-9999, or in the Nasty Chat as well. Nasty Chat's kind of hopping, so we'll certainly get over there at some point. But let's just take a quick look ahead here to the upcoming week in the National Football League, and I'll lay this bad boy out for you right now. Seahawks and Cowboys. Cowboys 9-point home favorites against Seattle. Denver versus Houston. Talked about that one yesterday. Texans 3.5 still. That has not moved since yesterday. The Chargers are 6-point road favorites in New England. Detroit 4-point favorites on the road in New Orleans against the Saints. The Jets are 2.5-point dogs at home against the Falcons. The Steelers 5.5-point favorites against the Cardinals. The Indianapolis Colts, 2-point favorites against the Titans. The Dolphins, 9.5 on the road in Washington. Tampa Bay, 5.5 at home against the lowly Carolina Panthers, fresh off a coaching change there. The Rams, 3.5-point favorites at home against the Cleveland Browns. The Niners, still 2.5-point favorites on the road in Philly. The Chiefs, 6.5 on the road in Green Bay. And then the Monday Nighter next week, a game that would have just been huge if Joe Burrow was playing and the Bengals were a little bit better. But the Jags are 8.5-point home favorites against the Burrow-less Cincinnati Bengals. Is there anything that jumps off the board for you there, Hus? I know we hit on that Niners-Eagles game yesterday as well. Think you're muted, Hus.
I've been going back and checking that game kind of every time I've been on the net for a little while, and it's sort of gone back and forth. It's now minus 112 on San Francisco, and I have seen other books have it as high as 3.
Okay.
So I'm still blown away. I mean, I kind of think that there'll be some Eagles support coming in at some point this week and will prevent it from getting to 3. But as I said yesterday, I mean, I still think that the Niners win this game. I think that they are the best team in the NFC right now. And I think that we get a bit of an insight into a very potential and likely, I would say, NFC championship game, which probably happens at Philly, unless I guess a Niner win would put them within 1 game of Philly. And Philly does have a few more tough games going forward. They've got that game in Dallas. So we'll see. But anyways, that game, it really does stand out to me. It's interesting. The Colts have snuck up on me. I'm just going to be honest. I haven't paid attention to them. I thought we wrote them off after a few of those losses. They've now won 3 in a row. They're going into Tennessee to take on the Titans as 2-point favorites. But Tennessee looked better last week, but they are still definitely a work in progress. And another reason why I'm looking at that game is this is a big bye week in the NFL, kind of the last one. Week 13 seems very late for buys, but you've got teams like the Vikings, the Ravens. And I just realized I got a one-man show at quarterback with Lamar Jackson on one of my teams and no backup. So it's waiver wire time. And basically I'm going down to either Gardner Minshew or Will Levis playing in that game right now. So let there be points. The Lions -4 in New Orleans is interesting because, let's face it, the Lions have not looked good the last couple of weeks. They Houdini out the back door against the Bears 2 weeks ago. And then they just had a really, really rough weekend.
More than a field goal on the road makes me hesitant to ride with the Lions right now. I'm not going to lie.
Now, there's nothing the Saints have done that's basically given anybody's faith in them. But that dome, that crowd, that is a tough place to play. I wouldn't be surprised if that line maybe came closer to 3.5 or so. I think there might be some support on the Saints. Although the Saints right now, it's -405. And then the Patriots. Do you think that the Patriots told that guy to miss the kick on purpose against the Giants against that game?
I mean, no, but I like the idea of it for sure. The New England Patriots, 6-point home dogs against a Chargers team that basically only plays 3-point games.
The thought of laying 6 with the Chargers on the road against anyone.
Does it make you sick? Does it make you a little bit sick?
Well,
I know.
It makes me want to laugh, that's for sure. And then, man, there's a huge number for the game on Thursday night with Dallas and Seattle. And we'll kind of get into that on Thursday's program. But 9 points is a lot. But then you look at what Dallas has done to all these sub-500 teams all year. And that is absolutely massacre. I mean, they've been smashing these teams with the exception of that crazy loss they had to Arizona earlier this year. They've been full marks. And, once again, they have a team coming in, playing poorly, losers of 3 in a row, I think, for Seattle right now, and getting really humbled last week by the Niners. So I certainly like Dallas in this game. My instinct is that, with a competent team like a Seattle, that's way too many points. But Dallas has been doing it over
7 of their 8 wins by 20 plus, right? So, but
what about you?
A lot of them were against worse teams than the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll see how that one pops up. You know, the Detroit number at 4 was something that kind of jumped off the page for me. I thought that would probably come in closer to 3. Steelers 5.5 is an interesting one. I know the Cardinals don't have a lot going on, but that Pittsburgh team, I just don't know if I have confidence in them beating somebody, you know, by 6 heading into the football game. I know sometimes they can weasel their way to it, but I just we ride with the Steelers, but we're usually riding with the Steelers at what, Hus? 1.5 money line,
or underdog,
or as a dog. I have a hard time buying into the Steelers as 5.5 point favorites. So that number kind of surprised me a little bit there as well. I mean, outside of that, where do you come out on the Browns being 3.5 point dogs on the road against the Rams?
Huh.
I mean, they basically have no quarterbacks, so that's a tough spot to be in.
They just can't score, and I'm a bit of a Matt Stafford guy. We'll see what happens with Cooper Kupp. I mean, speaking of fantasy, you were all fired up to get him back in.
Yeah.
He catches one pass, and then
that sucked.
They sort of shelf him for the rest of the game. Like, that defense is really, really tough. And I'll tell you what, if Cooper Kupp can't play, they're not going to run all over them like they did last week against Arizona. So that could be a tighter game. But I do, just based on the quarterbacking alone, I think the Rams are good enough to win that game. But I'm not sure I'd feel comfortable laying more than a field goal with them at it. I'm just looking at the Steelers' numbers for this game. So they beat the Bengals 16-10, lost 13-10 to Cleveland. They won by 4 against the Packers, won by 4 against the Titans. Back-to-back 7-point wins, and those are the biggest wins of their entire year against the Rams and the Ravens. Beat the Raiders by 5, beat the Browns by 4. I mean, they just play close games. Like, I don't really trust them to blow anybody out. And I might end up being on the Cardinals this week, to be honest. I'll still hope that Pittsburgh wins.
Yeah.
Keeps our playoff prop for them to get in right now, but I don't know. The one thing I'll say about Kenny Pickett is that, you know, they fired Matt Canada, and all of a sudden they had over 400 yards of offense, which was a nice start. They finally outgain a team for the first time this season. But the other thing that Pickett is doing, and this is why this team is at 7-4, is that he is not turning the football over. You can say all you want about him not getting the ball to Pickens and Johnson and they punting way too much, and that's all true. But when you have a defense playing like Pittsburgh is, Mike Tomlin is fully confident in playing those type of games. And in that game against Arizona, Pickett hit his 208th consecutive pass without a pick.
Without a pick, which is pretty impressive.
Steelers' all-time record, beating Ben Roethlisberger, which surprised me considering all the narrative around it. But
the ultimate definition of look after the football and you can win football games.
Totally. Maybe Matt Canada, maybe the Steeler fans were right. Matt Canada was just sewering this offense, and they can get going a little bit more. And I will say that game was probably not even as close as it was if Jaylen Warren doesn't fumble right after having a touchdown taken off the board in the first half. But I mean, there's a lot. I don't usually like to give Tom Brady credit, but he was right when he said there is a lot of mediocre football being played right now. Listen, there's some really good teams, and we'll see those teams in January and February. But holy smokes, right now, with the expanded wild card and the 7 teams in each side, looking at the teams that are in wild card spots right now, we could have some of the most lopsided and biggest lines in recent wild card history right now. I think that's sort of my feeling when I just look at some of these teams that could be playing on that first weekend of the playoff.
All right, so we're gonna have a lot of NFL content here over the next few days for sure. Gets you set up for that Thursday nighter on Thursday's edition of the Lock Shop. We do have a lot to talk about in the National Hockey League today, and let's just start quickly with the 2 exclusives that we already have posted over there, and then we'll get into some of the NHL last night set up. We got 10 games in the National Hockey League tonight. Our exclusives have already been posted. If you want to find that, go online, coolbet.com. You can click on the Edmonton Sports Talk Parlay. We've got McDavid for 2+ points. He's got got 9 in his last 2 games, playing on line with Nugent, Hopkins, and Hyman. So we've got McDavid 2+ points, plus Nugent, Hyman each to record a point, and the Oilers to win at plus 285. And Hus, what do you guys got for the Winnipeg Sports Talk parlay here? It's plus 525. That's nice.
Yeah, well, huge game tonight. Jets get another crack at the Dallas Stars. They went toe-to-toe, I guess, just before the West Final in that big doubleheader day for us here in the Peg. Great game. Jets ended up losing 3-2, and that was the last time they'd lost up until that 3-2 loss to Nashville on Sunday night. So they'll be looking to start a new winning streak tonight and doing it up against a team that, has kind of been the measuring stick in the division. I know the Avalanche are there right now so far this year, but for the most part, Dallas has sort of been the team to beat. So we'll take the Jets to win, a Mark Scheifele goal and a Josh Morrissey point, plus 525. So a nice little number for the fellas to get on that. And then I'm already thinking about what we're going to do on Thursday for Jets Oilers.
Oilers Jets. I mean, that's two big head-to-head parlays right there.
Big time. Oilers have a nice spot in the schedule. I mean, listen, Vegas is the Stanley Cup champs. They're going to be a big test, but they come in at their lowest point of the season.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you watched that game last night. It pissed me off because I did have Vegas as the daily pick for Coolbet. They gave up a goal in the third period to make it 1-1. And then survived. Did you see the overtime?
Oh, the power play that Calgary had, and then like the drop stick, and it was a mess.
At the end, it was 2 guys had dropped sticks. By that time, it was 4-on-4, but only 2 Vegas guys had sticks. They survive it. They get through, and then complete softy with 4.8 seconds left.
Yeah, I know.
Calgary gets the win.
Yeah, it's funny because I saw some people screen capping the little bit of a pick at the blue line there that tied Pietrangelo up, but that shot cannot go in. I mean, Aiden Hill was straight up right away. He knew it right away as soon as it went in. He's like, well, I totally blew that. Like, that can't go. That's not prime Alexander Ovechkin sliding down the wing and ripping one top cheese on you. Like, that one had to be stopped. But you're right about this Oilers spot. I got on Oilers in regulation at plus 111 for the Coolbet hotline of the day today. This is a classic 2 teams just in different spots right now. The Oilers have scored 13 goals in their last 2 games, outscored the opposition 13-2 over that stretch. McDavid has 9 points in the last 2 games. The power play seems to be ramping back up again. It was this very team that eliminated them last year, so there should be some added motivation to go out and kind of set the tone here. You got Vegas rolling in, having been shut out in 3 of their last 7 games. They've got 3 goals total in their last 4 games. They've lost 7 of their last 10. We had Craig Button on our show this morning and said, what's the deal with Vegas right now? And he basically said they look fatigued, like they look tired, and you're getting them in the second half of a back-to-back here. So as soon as I laid all that out, so many people today in the nasty chat on the text line were like, all right, so it sounds like Oilers, so Golden Knights as a dog. Because everything points to the Oilers being in a really nice spot to take advantage of a good but struggling hockey team right now, Hus. I think you're muted again.
Part of me thinks that the Oilers will bring out the best in Vegas. Because let's face it, every team in that division knows they do not want to be a part of letting Edmonton off the mat. And it sort of feels like they're getting off the mat right now. I mean, after the coach got fired, they got a couple wins. Then they looked terrible for 3 games. Now they've won 2 in a row. Like, you cannot let this team get hot and pull off 4, 5, 6 in a row, because that's when they'll get back into the mix for playoffs and who knows what else. But they just haven't looked very good. They got shut out at home by the Coyotes.
Yeah.
And then, as you mentioned, scored only 1 goal last night. So very interested to see what we get in this one tonight. And of course, both of these games, the one in Edmonton, the one in Winnipeg, will set up the rematch from earlier this season when I was out in Edmonton and you were here in Winnipeg when the Jets came back from that 2-0 early deficit and won 3-2 in OT. And just to this, there's some similarities, not quite to the extremes of what's happened to Vegas lately, but with the Dallas Stars. In fact, funny enough, The last time Vegas won was against Dallas, 2-1. I believe that was in a shootout or overtime.
That was in overtime. That was in overtime, yep.
And Dallas has had a few days to think about being up 4-2 and giving up 5 in the third period to the Calgary Flames and losing 7-4. So they should be ready to go. But yeah, they have lost 3 of their last 4 after running off 4 wins in a row. And a big, big game when it comes to just the Central Division standings as well. Because with the Avs won again yesterday, so they've now put 4 points in between Dallas and Winnipeg, although they have played more games. But this one, I mean, these two teams come in with an identical 26 points on the season. The winner will be 2 back of Colorado and 2 up on the third place team. Dallas does have 1 extra game in hand. So I'm looking for like this entire week for us here in Winnipeg is going to be great. Big one tonight near the top of the division. Oilers coming in on Thursday. And then Connor Bedard and the Blackhawks Saturday afternoon. We get a chance to see him for the first time. And then I think Carolina on Monday of the following week. So,
yeah, because the Oilers have Vegas tonight at home, then on the road for a 1-gamer in Winnipeg, and then back, and it's Carolina, Chicago. So same teams that you'll be saying they're going to be running through here, Florida, Tampa, over the next 6. So they play 7 of their next 8 at home. So it's not an easy sked. They get Minnesota in there, which actually kind of brings us to a coaching change in the National Hockey League. Huss, what'd you think of the Minnesota Wild pulling the trigger on Dean Evason?
Well, I was very disappointed in it. I mean, Jet fans and WSTers will remember how the season ended between Minnesota and Winnipeg last year. A Hartman cheap shot on Nikolai Ehlers in for the playoffs. Rick Bowness basically telling Dean Evason he was going to kick the shit out of him after the game, going at it. So no Evason on the bench for the Jets Wild rematches. By the way, those teams, get this for a weird schedule. After Christmas, 1 p.m. December 30th in Winnipeg, and then the next day in the Twin Cities, 1 p.m. on New Year's Eve. Back-to-back 1 o'clock matinees from these two teams.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a little different of a sked this year for those teams. Usually the Jets went there on Black Friday and got murdered, so it was nice that they didn't play there on Black Friday, and actually they did get the win against the Florida Panthers. But Minnesota, I mean, I sort of feel for Evason. Like, they have a $15 million cap penalty this year, and their goalies haven't been able to make a save.
No, that's a big part of it.
They invested $7 million a year in Matt Boldy. I believe he's got 1 goal. And Kaprizov hasn't been very good. Like, I guess if you have no other answers, you go and you fire the coach. But I think Dean Evason's been getting a lot of the Minnesota Wild, considering the talent, the cap penalties that they've had the last year plus. So we'll see if we're just going back, being environmentally friendly, recycling another head coach. And John Hines is back on the bench, back in the Central Division after finishing up last year in Nashville. So I feel that, the Wild have been very disappointing, but it starts in net. Fleury's got an .875 save percentage, and Gustafsson, who is, I think, top 3 in the league in save percentage last year, is like around .880 right now. So there's so many different ways. It kind of sounds like what we were talking about the Oilers.
Yeah, exactly.
2 weeks ago.
You're right.
Like, goaltending sucks. Star players aren't going right now. You add that up, well, I guess you get a coach fired. Jay Woodcroft and Dean Evason go play some golf right now, cashing checks.
Detroit Red Wings landing Patty Kane. Detroit right now, I think they're 10th in the league in winning percentage. They're 3rd in that division right now. Pat Kane has a history with the Brinkett. You probably would see him on a line with Larkin and DeBrincat, I would think, is probably what they're going to do when they eventually bring him in here. Your thoughts on that being his landing spot, Hus, and what does it mean for Detroit, who were kind of grouped in with like Buffalo and Ottawa as like, who are these teams that are going to sort of finally elevate? And Ottawa's dead last. Now they've only played 17 games out east. But Detroit finds themselves kind of in the thick of it right now. And this is a big addition if he can even be 80% of what he once was.
Detroit, this is huge for them. They, first off, I was surprised. I mean, I was expecting the usual suspects. He's going to go to Vegas. He's going to go to Florida. Hey, but do you know what the terms of the contract were? Like how much he's getting?
1 year, 2.75. I think it was Pierre LeBrun. I can double check it.
Even at 2.75, that's probably a lot more than most of those other teams could have given him. But still, I did not think that the Red Wings were maybe one of those teams that would be in the mix. I didn't think that he'd feel that he had a good enough chance to win. And he's made so much money right now. I mean, I guess what's he playing for? Is it just trying to squeeze out as much as he can to get into the bank, or does he want to play on a team that he can win? I thought maybe he'd go back to the Rangers, if he's fully healthy.
How good they look and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, the Wings are 5 games above 500 right now. They got 25 points in 20 games. They're just 2 points back of Florida with a game in hand. And all of a sudden, with Boston's kind of slump as of late, losing 3 in a row, I mean, that division isn't as much of a runaway as it was before right now. So they cannot let up, though. And I think this will be a real nice boost for them because, let's face it, behind them, tied with them is the Lightning, although they have 2 games in hand. You got the Leafs 2 points back. The Leafs have a game in hand. I mean, even a team like Buffalo is right now at 500. I think we're probably done with Montreal. And unless Ottawa wins all of their games that they have to make up, they're probably not in the picture right now. And there's other quality teams in the wild card race. I mean, Washington Islanders still can't get over Philly being in a playoff spot right now in the Metropolitan. I imagine that'll change a little bit.
You mentioned, I was just going to say, you mentioned the Leafs in there. Richard in the Nasty Chat popped in to say a quick fact to start the day. The Leafs have 5 regulation wins, the same as the San Jose Sharks so far this season. So the Leafs have been getting some of their damage done past regulation, but 2 points is 2 points, I guess.
Yeah, by the way, how about that little plus 175 sprinkle in the Sharkies last night?
I thought, I don't really want to think about anything when the Sharks win a hockey game, but I thought about you last night, Hus, when the Sharks won that hockey game. Classic low-scoring affair with the Washington Capitals, which is what they've been good for, usually a steady diet of the unders there, and the San Jose Sharks coming away with a tidy little 2-1 victory, buddy.
I know that Boston loss nuked your EST parlay as well as our partner parlay. Thank God we cashed the other one. But I have to say, I'm almost happy that Columbus won that game, because if our parlay had come down to that bad goal in overtime against Vegas.
Yeah, that would have right at the end, that would have sucked.
I would have been so angry. I would have been so angry. So all in all, it was a night where we had to watch a terrible football game, but it was worth it in the end because we got the partner parlay, we got the field goals. Pretty much every prop that we were on came in.
Yep.
And I know Patty said the book got killed last night on the parlays.
Yeah.
Keep on going, lock shoppers. That's what we do here.
The actual test. I mean, the text.
But there was well over 70% of the money was on the Vikings, so I think they probably made it back. No one's making a bake sale for the bookies.
No, I don't think anybody's going to be. Yeah, this was the. Because his parlay cashed, our parlay cashed. He texted us, and they're very transparent over at CoolBet. So he texted us and said the book took a licking. Luckily, there was a ton of money on the Vikings as well, so it probably got a good chunk of it back. But the lock shoppers who are rolling with us on these parlays have been cashing rather regularly, considering that they're 5-1 and 6-1 parlays, which is nice. And we'll try to put one together here in the National Hockey League tonight, Hus. We obviously have our EST and WTST parlays. Somebody, GSB, just slid into the Nasty Chat and said any parlay for the Oilers game. It is up right now. You can go grab it. It's in the exclusives page. It's McDavid 2 points, Nugent Hyman with a point each, and the Oilers to win. You can go grab that in the exclusives. There's a Winnipeg Sports Talk over there as well if you want to hop in on that. But as far as this slate goes tonight, Hus, 10 games in the National Hockey League. Let me quickly rip you through the starting goaltenders, either confirmed or likely at this point. Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz. Woll is likely. Stolarz is yet to be confirmed for the Florida Panthers. Sorokin likely versus Vanacek likely in the Islanders-Devils game. Carolina is at Philly. Kochekov is unconfirmed at this point. Carter Hart is confirmed to start tonight. St. Louis at Minnesota. Gustafson versus Binnington. Those guys have both been confirmed. Hellebuck confirmed. Ottinger at this point for the Dallas-Winnipeg game unconfirmed. Tristan Jarry confirmed. UC Saros likely in that Penguins-Preds game. Both Mrazek and Grubauer listed as likely for the Seattle Kraken and the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. Jonas Johansson will start for Tampa versus Connor Ingram for the Arizona Coyotes. Stuart Skinner confirmed to start for the Oilers tonight. Logan Thompson, you would think, would start after watching last night as Aiden Hill let in that weak goal in overtime. And then John Gibson and Thatcher Demko, Ducks and Canucks, those guys are both unconfirmed at this point. Some pretty good games tonight. Huss, what do you like and what jumps off the page?
What was the goaltending matchup for the Leafs-Panther game?
It is Joseph Woll, likely, and Anthony Stolarz. At this point, though, it's just unconfirmed. So we're not 100% sure just yet.
Well, Bob had the shutout last night. So I would not put it past Paul Maurice to just ride him again going into this game.
To just
tonight.
go right back to him.
I was looking at some numbers for this game, and Florida's really had their way with the Leafs, including the playoffs last year. One of the trends that has been that, I mean, listen, if it's Stolarz in, maybe that makes me a little bit more nervous. But there's a heavy, heavy under trend when these teams have been playing. I think it's 5-0-1 in the last 6 to the under. And the number is 6.5, and the under is -102. So I did sort of think that. I mean, Florida's finished. Florida, I believe this is 3 and 4 nights. Or no, I guess. Because they played Winnipeg on Friday night. And then went... Yeah, then they went to Senators yesterday, so back-to-back. So I guess they did have 2 days off before yesterday's game. The Leafs have just been so underwhelming lately. So, I mean, I kind of look at Florida, the way they're playing. If this was equal rest, like if they both had a day off, I think I'd jump on Florida at +122. A little more nervous on that one. The Canes and Flyers. I mean, my brain says Hurricanes.
I know.
But I've suspended Philly or betting against Philly, to be honest with you, for the last little while. I don't mind +138 on the Blues. Like, I know there's always the new coach bump or whatever, but I kind of think that Minnesota is in a situation where, like, John Hines isn't going to come in and snap his fingers and all of a sudden this team is, world beaters. Huge, huge Central Division game. But St. Louis has sort of quietly been really, really good over the last little while. They won 3 of their last 4. They had a crazy loss to the Preds, 8-3. And I guess they've been beating sort of bad teams, Blackhawks, Coyotes, Ducks. But before that, they did go back-to-back against the Lightning and the Avalanche. Put it this way, I just don't think Minnesota, based on their goaltending and what they've been so far, should be a -163 favorite. I will certainly ride with that. And I'd like to take Pittsburgh, but man, UC Saros was so damn good on Sunday night. I have a tough time leaning on them. And maybe we're just ignoring the obvious, riding with Nashville right now. They won 5 in a row. Saros is playing absolutely lights out. And then you got these late games with Tampa in Arizona. I'll jump on Tampa. I know they're second and a back-to-backs. They were tight last night with the Colorado Avalanche. They got to get back at it. Arizona seems like a team that is still somewhat young and immature. I think Tampa realizes the importance of this.
I really like Tampa at -122 on the money line. Like, I think that's I know you just laid out the reasons why it's sitting at -122, but I think that's a pretty good value spot on the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight.
And then Anaheim and Vancouver are in. That's tonight as well.
That's the late game. Yep.
Ducks are in a little bit of disarray.
Ducks have lost 6 in a row.
I would have time for Canucks puck line there if we wanted to get something around +1, like even money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not bad, actually. I don't mind that. Vancouver has, and I know I was watching some stuff with Sakaris and Price, like Vancouver has cooled off, let's say. I think they've alternated wins and losses here for the last week or so. But Anaheim had a little push in that game against the Oilers, and then they kind of quickly went away. Vancouver Now, it was the second half of a back-to-back because they beat Seattle. Then they lost to San Jose 4-3. They're coming off a loss to San Jose, but they've had 2 days off since then, Hus. I think this is a decent little get-right spot here for the Vancouver Canucks. So I would like to get that plus money at -1.5. I think we could throw that into something for sure.
Okay, so we throw the Canuck puck line down, and we like the Lightning on the money line at -122. Let's grab one other game. One other game that we didn't mention, and speaking of a team that looked like they got it together, although I think the jury's still out on it, but the New Jersey Devils scored 7 in their last game at home against Buffalo, coming off that 2-1 loss to the Blue Jackets before they had lost. Well, they had lost 6 of 7 before that.
Before that, right?
But they're getting their guys back. And, we talk a lot about these desperate teams. Now, I think the Islanders are going to technically be in one of those situations pretty much all year long, just because they're going to be in the mix for a wild card and that's it. But the Devils have 19 points in 19 games. This is a big makeup game. If they win this game, they can get to within 1 of New York and Washington. I think that they got the mojo going again after that win against Buffalo. So, I don't mind a money line bet on the Devils if we want to jump on them at home and put them in with the other ones.
Did you see the shots for and against in that New Jersey Buffalo game?
No.
38-12. Buffalo only had 12 shots on goal in that hockey game, which I did not see at the time. I'm looking back on it right now. And yeah, shots in that game were 38-12. And the Devils won 7-2. So I think that's like that dominant of game could get you going a little bit, right? So I like that. Let's do that. Let's put New Jersey in just on the money line, right, at -163, and that bumps it up to +490 before any sort of boost.
Yeah. So considering the boost that they've been giving us lately, that might be close to 5.5 to 1. Certainly +530, 540, something like that. So yeah, let's lock that in. Hopefully we can get that Jersey win and then watch our respective games and then have something to pay attention to when the Oilers and the Jets are finished to see if on these late games we can round out another partner parlay.
All right, cool, bettors. You'll be able to find that. I know Jake's texting me right now, so he's probably watching. Let us know if you like anything else tonight. We can certainly discuss. If you have any questions, we got a few minutes left before Hus has to slide away, and we've got 2 guys in the goalie coming up to get you ready for the Oilers and the Golden Knights. Maybe we'll talk about the disarray maybe in Ottawa in just 1 second. But one more time, that'll be Tampa Bay -122 on the money line at Arizona. The Canucks -1.5, the puck line at +101, and the New Jersey Devils money line at -163 at home tonight against the Islanders in the first game of the evening. That's +490. If you just want to play it right now yourself, we would suggest you wait until the boys throw it up as an exclusive, and that'll be available on the exclusives page over at Cool Bet. There's a few other things around the world of sports. We had a lot of fun with this on our show today, Hus. The Pop-Tart Bowl, did you see this? They're going to have the mascot. So the Pop-Tart Bowl is happening December 28th. Bowl game brought to you by Pop-Tart. And I love Pop-Tarts, huge Pop-Tarts guy. The mascot is going to be edible from the Pop-Tart Bowl. So it's going to be like a full-size Pop-Tart mascot. And then whichever team wins gets to eat the mascot Pop-Tart after the game. Tell me that is not taking the bowl games to yet another level south of the border. Like, that's amazing to me.
Well, coming off the Thanksgiving games where everyone has the turkey.
Yeah.
And by the way, we didn't talk about maybe the cockiest touchdown celebration in recent NFL history. The Cowboys hiding the turkey in the Salvation Army kettle.
That was good.
And then Dak was asked about it. And they said, well, I thought about getting it when we went up 31-10, but I knew we were going to score again. So I figured I would just save it till then. Wow.
Unbelievable.
But listen, college kids, they love Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, they do.
So, man, absolutely. Yeah. Win the game and just break off the mascot and start chowing down on him. I'm here for it.
I think that's absolutely amazing. I also, on my show today, said the Ohtani thing, I know you brought it up at the end of the lock shop yesterday, like the Blue Jays are one of the 3 teams that are kind of chasing Ohtani. as a Jays fan, man, I just don't know if I want any part of it. Like having them in the mix is great. If they don't get them, I'm going to be extremely disappointed. If they do get them, they're not going to win with them. They're just going to waste them. And I'm going to be extremely disappointed that we got Ohtani for a few years and they still couldn't get the job done. You know, like I don't see a path to me not being disappointed in this whole Blue Jays, Ohtani courting of him, you know, like
you're not going to be disappointed if the Blue Jays get Ohtani. He's the most, and whatever they have to pay him, it'll be worth it. In my opinion. I mean, I think it changes your organization, the marketability of that team. I mean, they're already sort of Canada's team. I think they'd immediately become Japan's team too.
Yeah, they would.
I don't know what that means for it. But speaking of which, any lock shoppers in the chat, did any of you follow my lead yesterday and get on
that
them?
Number has moved, hey?
25-1 when I dropped it yesterday on the lock shop. It's now 5-1. Here's the updated lines at CoolBet. The Dodgers plus 150. The Giants plus 350. Cubs plus 425. Jays 5-1. Mets 8-1. Yankees 9-1. I am stunned. I thought it might come down to 12 or 10. I did see it listed as 10 yesterday at a different book. But that might be a reaction to the lock shoppers going in and getting in so much liability at 25-1. They almost had to put it down to 5-1.
Drop it all the way down. Lock shoppers, like we say, CoolBet is your sports book. You can impact lines significantly like this. I just try to look at this, the next team, and you can find this right now. Go to MLB. There's MLB specials, and then there's MLB futures for 2024. But if you look at the MLB specials right now, the only one they have there is the next team Ohtani signs a contract with. And as an Angels fan, it just must suck so much to see the Dodgers at plus 150 on that list. You know, I mean, you know what's going to happen. You never get a sniff of it ever as an Angels fan, and he goes and joins the Dodgers and they win a World Series. You know, it's just like that has to. I can't even imagine. That's like sitting here as an Edmontonian and Connor McDavid goes to free agency and they're like, next team he signs with, Calgary, plus 125. Like, it just, that would be the worst thing of all time. Like, the city people would not go to work for like a week. It would be absolutely horrific.
Poor Artie Moreno. Artie Moreno's got all that money. He had Ohtani. He had Trout. They couldn't even make the damn playoffs, and now he's going to be gone. We've got some nice comments in the chat. Shout out to Zulu. Lock shop been paying my fuel to work for weeks now. Love that one. Richard Croft likes the WST one. It looks fantastic with the Jets win. Would like a Booch goal tonight to edge closer to the 11 on the season that we need. Duck Dad, I'm going to sprinkle that WST parlay. Time to ride the Winnipeg wagon. I appreciate it.
The Winnipeg wagon. How about that?
Yeah, who would have thunk it? And Pat Maroon's bib. Hus working on a full week hangover. Well done, King. Yes. You know what? Hey, it's the Grey Cup. The Grey Cup is a different beast.
You know what?
And everybody has COVID too. So although we don't freak out about it like we did before. So
yeah, I saw a lot of people had that coming out there. I had since I got back from the Grey Cup, I've had a little bit of a cough myself. And but I mean I basically get a cough every 6 weeks. It's just like when you talk too much. But I mean, let's be honest, It was Grey Cup and we were talking a lot and it was a good time. It takes a little while to recover. Like yesterday, I needed the weekend to actually get consistent like 7 hours of sleep. And I'm starting to feel pretty good again, man, which is exactly like midweek, the week following the week after the Grey Cup is usually when you should get back on track from a Grey Cup. Right? Like, that's just how it works. If you haven't been for a Grey Cup, it's a 10-day recovery process.
I hope you're right, especially if the following weekend you feel that, okay, I'm completely back, and then go about your business, which is always the end. I mean, it's the NFL, like, Thanksgiving weekend. So you've got games on Thursday, now Friday. There's hockey games. I mean, it was all conspired to not have me recover properly, but you have to own it. we're adults. We make decisions. You know what? We move forward. I'll be there on Winnipeg Sports Talk in 10 minutes to get ready for this game tonight, and hopefully tweeting with you and the Lock Shoppers about some nice results this evening for all of us when we see what happens in these games tonight in the NHL.
What's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk today, buddy?
Well, lots of NHL talk. Mike McIntyre is going to join us. We'll kind of tee up tonight's Dallas game. We've also got the Dallas Stars reporter from The Athletic to get the latest on the visitors. And before that, John Madison, the score. We'll talk about the firing in Minnesota, the signing of Pat Kane in Detroit, and we probably won't talk about why Corey Perry and Connor Bedard have been trending for a week on Twitter.
Oh man, I will say this: like, I haven't talked about it much on the shows because it's the greatest joke thing to have of all time. But you're like, this can't be a thing. But just going on Twitter and seeing some of the memes and the GIFs and some of the videos, it is absolutely gold. Some of the stuff that's out there is absolutely gold, but it's just hard to believe that. Mind you, then one of these two sides should step up and say, no, here's the issue. As opposed to Corey Perry's leaving the team for personal reasons, and the Chicago Blackhawks say they didn't want him around. So, I mean, somebody's got to step up and say something. Because if not, this is why these rumors are running rampant right now.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? Listen, people, social media and people today are so it all depends on what they're pushing is what their angle is. Like these same people that are dragging an 18-year-old and their mom through social media over and over again are the first ones to talk about the Blackhawks treatment of sexual abuse and all that. Like, guess what? Saying this sort of shit over and over again about people that are
both ways,
innocent is basically borderline public sexual abuse or at least harassment. So I have not jumped in on that. I think to be honest, you're sitting around cracking a joke with your buddies for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thought of it is, I mean, there's been stories like that forever from the hockey world, but man, I mean, this young guy's going to be the face of the NHL for a number of years. He's like 6 weeks into his rookie season, and this is what he's doing. This is what
the issue is. Yeah, not ideal.
Pretty brutal.
Not ideal. Duck Dad is in and says we are 10 people away from 6,000 subs on Edmonton Sports Talk. So let's do that. Let's get there. We're at 599. Right now, so hopefully maybe even by the end of two guys and a goalie today, if not by the end of the post game tonight, we will be at 6,000 subs, which is we're there.
Speaking of,
we're 6 away. We're 6 subs away.
6 away.
Yeah.
So listen, if you're here and you haven't already, hit that subscribe button there, and then while you're at it, head on over to Winnipeg Sports Talk. Throw us a sub as well, and you can jump on when the fellas are done in Edmonton with their programming. We'll probably still have at least another hour live on WST, and we'll be back tomorrow. We can kind of do a little bit more on the NFL week and start getting ready for the Lock Shop Bowl. Oilers Jets on Thursday.
It's going to be good. Have a good show today, man. That'll do it for the Lock Shop. For Hus, I'm Nielsen, Fantasy Football 5. Coming up here at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. All right, Fantasy Football 5, and we are back on the waiver wire. As always, the Fantasy Football 5 brought to you by our great NFL partners, Century Casino, Fort Road, Sports Bar and Lounge. Join Lieutenant Eric there Mondays and Thursday nights. I do feel a little bit bad. I have to issue an apology to Matthew Wanek, who's sitting over here, because I did say Justin Fields is probably going to get you the 20 points that you needed last night, and I checked in on our league. And,
I didn't think it was going to happen anyways.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought it was. I thought he'd get like at least 80 rushing yards. You get 8 points there.
That stuff never happens for me.
So
I blew up
the
this
deal
week.
now?
I screwed it this week. I did not. I benched Devontae Smith. I played Cooper Kupp. That was enough to get me the win where I could have won the division. It didn't happen. So now I have.
You're third in the division now.
Yeah, but I'm in the playoffs.
Yeah.
One more week. Whatever. I think there's one more week.
Yeah, we have one more week.
Yeah, whatever.
There's one more week in that league.
So it's a whatever week. I hope my team plays a miserable week. No one does anything because it saved my points for the playoffs.
You know what's crazy? In our division, and we're in the same conference, 16 teams, 14 divs. I'm right now in fourth at 5-7, a team that was once 1-6. But I'm tied with Tanis, who's 5-7. And then the two teams that are ahead of us are 6-6 and 6-6. So I play a 6-6 team this week. She plays a 6-6 team this week. And there's a chance here that our entire division could be 6-7.
And I don't know what tiebreaker is.
So how does that work? Because the other team in your div, who we would also be competing with, is 6-6 as well. So there could be 5 teams that are tied at 6-7. And I don't even know how our commish sorts out the tiebreakers in this thing.
I think yeah.
Is it head-to-head points for? Because in the division, we each play twice.
The rules are somewhere.
So
let me see if I can find.
I don't know how this is going to sort itself out. If you have any fantasy football questions, we're taking an early look at the waiver wire here. But 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Bones texts in and says, Matt, is that the guy that Quinn Phillips replaced? Oh, Bones, you've done it again.
Somebody was going to I resigned. Somebody has to replace me.
Yeah,
Otherwise, the league goes away.
It only took us one business day to get that done, too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Eric laugh out there.
I'm glad you guys were able to find someone. I wish Quinn the best of luck.
Yeah.
And
she seems like a gamer, so that's good.
We'll see how it goes.
So anyway, yeah. Are you trying to look up the rules in this tiebreaker?
Well, I'm trying to see. I think stuff are in a Dropbox somewhere, and I'm just trying to find which Dropbox.
This was my best fantasy week of the entire season, by the way. I ended up only not winning one of my leagues, and I lost 135 to 120. What was it? 135 to 123. So I put up 123 points. Goff, Eckler, Pacheco, Lamb, Addison, Likely, Collins, Moody, and you know what? The Lions D killed me in that one. So then that's a league where I'm still in decent. Look here, I got an 8-4 team, a 6-6 team, an 8-4 team, a 5-7 team, another 5-7 team, a 7-5 team, and a 9-3 team. So not bad. It hasn't been like all my teams except for one are in playoff contention right now. So I think that's solid.
So it follows NFL tiebreakers, our league.
It follows the NFL tiebreakers.
tiebreakers. So
okay, so what's
if 3 or more clubs, if 3 clubs, 3 or more, it goes head to head, best won-loss tie percentage in games amongst the clubs. So whoever has the best record against all of you guys combined is the first tiebreaker.
If there's 3 of us tied,
3 or more,
before
3 or more,
where it was 3 or more tied.
So if there's 5 of you, it's whoever has the best. I guess whoever has the best
in
2 records against just you 5. I think.
God.
And then after that, it's best win-loss tie percentage in games played within just the division, which, well, there's... Oh, no, this is for... Okay, so for wildcard teams. If it's necessary to break ties to determine 3 wildcard clubs from each conference, the following steps. If the tied clubs are from the same division, apply division tiebreakers. If they're from different divisions, it's this. So, this is complicated. Jesus. Apply divisional tiebreaker to eliminate all but the higher-ranked club in each division prior to proceeding to step 2. And then there's step 2, head-to-head. Oh, my God. Good luck, Kixie.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a train wreck.
I'm glad I'm out of it.
So in that one,
by the way, I am the highest scoring team in the league.
Well, that's good.
I'm happy with that.
If I was to beat the Stunners this week, we would both be 3-3 in the div. So then we'd have to go to another tiebreaker in that spot. And if Tanis won, we'd all be 3-3 in the division. So then there has to be another tiebreaker that we would have to look at as well. So yeah, sketchy times right now in the Rusty Truck Fantasy Football League. Nobody knows what's going on. In the end, I think the Commissioner Kixie just picks teams that he wants into the playoffs. So
I would love, no offense, for you and the Stunners to not make it.
Why me? My team's not that good.
You've been scoring points lately.
Actually, I've been hot lately.
You've been hot lately. You're a team that I would not want to meet in the playoffs.
Ooh, I like that.
And Thanks, the Stunners are a team I would not want to meet in the playoffs. They have Mahomes. They have Tyreek Hill. They're going to get Justin Jefferson back. I would love if they got knocked out.
My team hasn't. Well, that's not a good team.
How many points
though.
did you put up this week?
Like 100. I put up a lot of points this week. I won by 50 points this week.
Well, that's it. Like you've actually.
I put up 115, and it's a lower scoring league. Like
no, you've been rolling over the last couple of weeks, points wise.
I had
I believe
third most points in the league this week, 4th most points in the league this week.
So
no, third most.
If you're knocked out in Stunners, I'd be pretty pleased personally.
Yeah, because he had a huge week, 123 points. So
and no Justin Jefferson.
Yeah,
you play him this week, right?
Yeah, so that's a head-to-head.
I'll take you in the playoffs over him too. If
I would
if
take
they
me in
could
the
get
playoffs
knocked
over him
out,
too. Yeah,
I would be thrilled.
That's a nice team. A couple of guys to look at on the waiver wire this week, if you can find them. We had somebody message in, was it yesterday on the Lock Shop? Who was the beauty that they found on the waiver wire? That was good. Zach Moss is only 54% owned in leagues. Jonathan Taylor, a little bit of a thumb issue here. I think his status is in doubt right now. So if for some reason, I don't know why Zach Moss would be available in so many leagues, but if Zach Moss is available in your league, that's one where you're going to empty the bank account the rest of the way. Fryermuth has returned, and he had a big week. He had more receiving yards this week than he had all season prior. 45.5% owned. That's a guy that you would look at as well. Outside of that, not a huge week just yet on the waiver wire. Jaden Reed with the Green Bay Packers, less than 40% owned there as well. And I don't know, Maddie, where do you come out on OBJ right now as a possible late season playoff?
He's good
playing
depth.
here. Yeah.
He'll be a guy that's going to pick up some yards. I don't stand here thinking he's going to be touchdown every week. Right?
He's got a juicy schedule in the fantasy playoffs, okay, apparently. So
really?
That's what they say.
The Ravens, I know, they have bye week this week, but then they got the 49ers somewhere. They got the Steelers still. They do have the Dolphins. I can't remember.
That's
who.
probably one of the things. Strength
like,
of schedule will be determined points allowed during that position, against that position, right?
Still, I could quickly pull up the Ravens here for you. And then we got to get going.
Zach Moss and
Rams.
Fryermuth will be top two targets.
They get the Rams, Jags, 49ers, Dolphins. Steelers don't matter unless you're playing the last week, which you're in a weird league if that's the case.
Might be able to score some points against those teams. All right, that's going to do it for the Fantasy Football 5. Two guys in the goalie coming up. The Edmonton Oilers, are they back if they beat Vegas tonight? And what happens if they don't beat an injury-riddled, struggling Vegas squad? We'll get into that with Cass and Gager on two guys in the goalie. Don't go anywhere. Edmonton Sports Talk's live sports coverage continues here at noon.